the shooting range. In this episode, pages of history, the exploits of the American samurai, tank triathlon, the fastest tanks, going super off-road, and metal beasts, the red flying beauty. The Meteor F Mark 8 Reaper first flew in 1948, making one of the first British jets to make it to the skies. In the game, it sits comfortably at BR 8.0, making it a unique pick among other premiums of the fifth era. Performance-wise, it's very close to Meteors from the regular tech tree. Let's take a closer look. The things you notice first are its bright red camo, elongated frame, low profile, 2 engines and 2 spar wings, or even 3 spar in the area between the engines and the body of the aircraft. There is bulletproof glass and also an armored backrest protecting the pilot. The fuel is stored in 2 self-sealing fuel tanks. You get 4 Hispano Mark V cannons to play with, as well as loads of ordnance options. You can get 4 500-pound bombs, 2 types of 1,000-pound bombs, 4 of them in either configuration, 24 RP-3 rockets, and also a few other payload consisting of both rockets and bombs in different combinations. You have a climb rate of a bit more than 40 meters per second, and your max speed in level flight is 962 kph. In the sky, it performs pretty much like all the aircraft of the British Meteor family. It's not exceptionally fast, but very agile, and comes with a very impressive 1-second burst mass. After deployment, immediately it starts to climb. Your high rate of climb allows you to be among the first aircraft flying up high. That means, for example, that you can easily intercept enemy heavy bombers before they become a threat to your bases. Be careful when engaging in a dogfight. Yes, you're likely to outrun a single opponent. At this rank, the only enemy that can give you hell is the German Comet. But 2 aircraft engage in a dogfight make for very easy targets for the rest of the world. Be very wary of the speed you're traveling at. If it's lower than 300, you're in trouble. In mixed battles, the Reaper proves to be an excellent attack aircraft. Just keep in mind that a heavily loaded Reaper becomes much more sluggish. It's harder to control, and there's a considerable drop in its maneuverability. So, a lot of opponents that are no trouble to an unburdened Reaper might become a real burden to deal with. And that's without mentioning enemy SPAAGs. When it comes to picking payload options, go for bombs and rockets. Drop your bombs first to make your aircraft lighter as fast as possible. Then, switch to rockets to hunt some ground targets. After you get your full maneuverability back, start going for enemy aircraft. Another option is just to go all rockets. In ideal conditions, that might allow you to get even more frags. Obviously, any fight with SPAAGs in it doesn't fall under this category, and you have to get really good at using rockets as well. The Reaper is an incredibly versatile attack aircraft. After dropping its load, it turns into a decent fighter, and thanks to its premium status, gives you bigger rewards every match. And, well, it's just very, very pretty. On the 3rd day of fighting in the Pacific after the devastating blow of Pearl Harbor, the Japanese were very much on the offensive. They trashed Clark Field in the Philippines, making the country vulnerable to attack. At this point, Japan seemed to be king both in the sky and at sea. But on the 10th of December 1941, the group of Japanese landing ships that were moving south under the protection of several combat vessels and naval aircraft suddenly ran into a lonely B-17. Before anyone had time to react, the bomber started dropping bombs on the Japanese convoy. Obviously, this reckless B-17 had no chance of escaping. Soon, a bunch of Zeros were chasing it, peppering it with fire. When approaching Clark Field, the commander of this bomber, Colin Kelly, ordered his crew to bail out, while he himself died when the bomber exploded shortly after. The US forces were still retreating. All the while, the 26-year-old Kelly was already considered a war hero. There were streets and schools named after him, he was posthumously awarded several honors, and his infant son was appointed to West Point. At that point in time, it was believed that Colin Kelly managed to destroy a battleship, Haruna, as well as several transport vessels. In reality, his bombing run only resulted in some light damage to the Japanese cruiser Nattore, delaying the Japanese landing by a couple of hours at most. What was so great about what Kelly did then? Maybe he was just a suicidal fool who simply lost a very expensive aircraft in a meaningless fight. To answer that question, let's leave Colin Kelly be for a short while and go to Japan. Pearl Harbor happened just 3 days ago. It was very much the time of a national triumph. The morale in the Army and the Navy was at an all-time high, while the radio was declaring victoriously that Americans were spineless fools that just needed a bit of a push to completely succumb to the will of the Japanese warriors. And that's when Colin Kelly did something that was perceived as very samurai-like, immediately undermining all the efforts of the military propaganda. That really came out of the blue. For many Japanese people, it was something inconceivable. How could such a brave man be a part of the American military? A legendary Japanese ace, Saburo Sakai, later said,
"That tonight we spoke at length about the brave pilot on a B-17 who tried to single-handedly take out a squadron. We never heard about anything like that before." The Japanese media even claimed that the body of Colin Kelly was inhabited by a soul of a great samurai of the past who was reborn on American soil by mistake. Okay, but if that was the case, it was only logical to ask, how many of those great samurai were inhabiting the bodies of American soldiers that were ready to punish Japan for its aggression? Very soon, the Japanese knew the answer. A damned lot of them. What do you think about this? We take the fastest vehicles in the game and go super off-road with them. In ideal conditions, all contenders are capable of reaching speeds of more than 70 kph. Let's see how well they fare driving through sand, snow, and mud. The American crew brought the M41. Germans are sporting the Ru 251, and the Soviets are going to use the Object 906. Representing Italy is the R3T106FA wheeled armored car, currently the fastest vehicle in the game. Our first test is a vehicle marathon. Our contenders will have to drive through the most unreliable terrain the game has to offer. They're in for a ride through dunes of sand, snowy fields, and nigh impassable swamps. Let's go. The Italian car is immediately in the lead, all others are dragging behind. That's the magic of wheels for you. Let's see what happens next. Now it's all about sand. The Italians are still in the lead. The M41 is coming second in close proximity to other vehicles. Next area, snow. Everything changes.
There's a new leader, the German Ru-251, followed by the Soviet object, and then the American vehicle. Italians couldn't help but squander their lead and are now coming last. The swamp area poses an even bigger challenge for the Italian team. Well, wheels are great on actual roads. This car was certainly not built for this. We're approaching the finish line. The German vehicles come in first, followed by the Object 906. In the end, the Soviet vehicle didn't have enough max speed to outrun the Germans. The M41 is the third to get to the finish line, and the Italian car comes dead last. The second test is shooting practice. We expect this part of our triathlon to have the wildest results. After all, the vehicles were chosen because of their mobility, not their BR. Let's see what happens anyway. In front of every contender, there are 2 targets that are to be hit as quickly as possible. Let's go! 2 recoilless rifles allow the Italian car to get rid of both targets in the blink of an eye. The Soviet crew is the second to finish the task. Their autoloader really came in handy here. Then it's the German vehicle, and then the Americans, who had a bit of trouble dealing with an armored target. Our third test is a game of cat and mouse. No, we're not going to use a mouse here. Our target is a slightly more agile BT-5. We'll put a pink bush on it, though, to make it a kind of tactical tail. The first vehicle to catch the mouse by its tail, in other words, to hit it with its hull, wins. Contenders take their positions on the sides of the arena. The mouse is right in the center. Ready, steady, go! All vehicles are a-going. The R3 comes really close, but the BT manages to dodge. Okay. The Italian has difficulty trying to outrun the BT-5. The German crew almost touches the tail, but their vehicle is pushed to the side by the 906. It's going to... Yes! We think it's fair to say that there are 2 winners here, the Ru-251 and the Soviet Object 906. What about the M41? Well, it was, spectating. Sadly, the vehicle is not maneuverable enough to compete with other speedy boys here. Okay, it's time to announce our winners. In the third place is the German Ru-251. It has decent cross-country ability and performed pretty well in shooting practice. The second spot is occupied by the Italian R3. 2 recoilless rifles plus amazing speed make it a king of flanking maneuvers. And the winner is the Object 906. Great cross-country capabilities, high maneuverability, and an amazing gun that comes with both a stabilizer and an autoloader. All hail the champion! The first question comes from the user called Tiki McRae. Can I have some golden eagles, please? Of course. You can buy as many as you want with just a couple of clicks, eh? If you're not into spending money, there are always golden battle wages. Special sets of tasks that reward you with golden eagles upon completion. Obviously, every Friday there is also Thunder Show, where players get golden eagles for all the crazy and epic things they do in the game. Brandon Kim asks, where does the War Thunder team find information for creating 3D models of vehicles? I always have a hard time finding blueprints and schematics when doing art or making models. Good day, Brandon. It's always hard, indeed. We can't tell you about all the sources, but we try to go straight to the manufacturers wherever possible. We spend a crazy amount of time searching for blueprints and schematics ourselves, checking and cross-checking different sources. I hope that doesn't discourage you. Then there's a question from Christian Somido. Can you do a vehicle overview but about planes? If there already is something like that, I'm sorry for asking this. Yeah, there will certainly be climbing the ranks videos for aircraft as well. What nation should we start with? Jambi asks,
What are those metal plates on the sides of the T-64A?
Hi. They're meant to give additional protection against heat projectiles. When a round hits the vehicle at an angle, like in most cases, those plates are the first thing it comes into contact with. Then it detonates before hitting any actual armor, minimizing or at least limiting damage. The last message was written by Alon Rygorodyetsky. Can we get more What Thunder stories? I really loved the previous one. Thank you for your feedback. We also had a lot of fun making it, and we're thinking about a sequel. Well, that's all for today. You were watching The Shooting Range by Gaijin Entertainment. Come on, you lot. Subscribe to the channel and make sure you press the bell button. Leave a like and tell us what you think in the comments below. See you in a week.